Hey folks, this is Matt once again. Just doing a couple random videos to get my mind off some personal stuff going on. The past, by the time you've seen this, if you've seen the Q&A, I mentioned at the very beginning that past week, and it's still ongoing, there's been some craft fests I won't get too much into personal life-wise. I was going to do reviews leading up to my birthday, which is May 25th, of a certain theme, like for fun, but I kind of just not really up to it. But I want to also do something, again, to get my mind off it. And, the stuff I was planning to do, maybe one day, way down the road, I'll do when I'm more head settled. But yeah, I don't repeat myself, it's already a minute in. Did see a couple random films to take my mind off stuff. And random movie number one is this film, Gang Related. About the story of James Belushi, who I liked as an actor. I think he's a really good actor. You also have Tupac Shakur. And I believe this was the last film he did before he died. And I have to look that up real quick. Yeah. Notable for being Tupac Shakur's last film performance. Now, I'm not 100% sure. Is this the last film he did? Or this is the last film that got released? I'm not 100% positive on that. But if it's not Tupac Shakur's last film, it's one of his last films. There's even a dedication at the end of him. Because I think he passed away in 1996, and this film came out in 1997. So maybe this is the last film. It's directed by Jim Kouf, Kouf. Now, this is a guy, I recognize his name. He's actually been part of quite a few films I've seen before. He wrote Up the Creek, which is a Tim Matheson comedy from the 80s. He helped write and produce Stakeout, which I love Stakeout. Stakeout with Richard Dreyfuss, Emilio Estevez. I think that's a great buddy cop film that no one ever talks about anymore. Stakeout, I think, even though it was a good-sized hit when it came out, it was a surprise hit, but that's a movie that's been completely forgotten. Like, no one ever mentions it. It did well with critics, for the most part. It didn't box office-wise. The two actors were great. Has a song that people recognize. Is this love we're after? Doom, doom. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry. I really enjoy Stakeout. Sequel, not so much, but the first film's great. And apparently he helped work on The Hidden. He helped write that under the pen name of Bob Hunt. So this guy helped write, at least it says he wrote The Hidden. So this guy's pretty talented, a lot of good films. I believe he helped work on Rush Hour, but is that after all the rewrites and all that stuff? Who knows? But still, The Hidden, writing that, Stakeout, Up the Creek. And he directed Disorganized Crime, which is a film with Lou Diamond Phillips. And then this film he directed. Now, going through all that, I will say this film does have a really good cast. Like I mentioned, James Belushi, I enjoy him in The Principal. I enjoy him in Red Heat. He's a really good actor. I'm fond of K9. Flick he did, I forget what year it was. Tupac Shakur, he's actually a pretty decent actor. I mean, he was a rapper, but he was actually gave good performances in the movies. There's another film I've seen he did called Gridlock, and yeah, I thought he did a good job in this flick. Although in this flick, he didn't really have I don't want to say he didn't have much to do, but why I'm saying that because pretty much all it was is the guy saying, "Why are we doing this? This is wrong. Why are we doing this? This is wrong. Why are we doing this? This is wrong." And it got old after a while. But I mean, he gave a good performance, but I'm just talking about the writing of it. James Earl Jones, he has a small role. Dennis Quaid has a role in this. Pretty much the story's about James Belushi, Tupac Shakur, two cops. They do this deal with this guy who they sell drugs to him, and then when the guy's driving away, they shoot the guy and they get the drugs back. This sort of thing. These are two corrupt cops. They do this so that you get money and then kill the guy. They get on the case and they say it's gang related, hence the title. And it's like, oh, whatever, these guys are drug dealers, and who gives a shit if they live or die? We'll kill them, and then we get to pocket the money and save up. And James Belushi wants to go to Hawaii, and Tupac has a gambling debt. And for those wondering, I do like some of the Tupac songs. I can't think of the titles off the top of my head, but the rhythms are there. The guy they kill turns out to be a DEA agent, and the guy was played by Kool Mo D, who's another rapper. And pretty much the DEA is sniffing around, saying, "What happened? What happened to this guy? This is one of my agents." And Belushi, Tupac are like, "Okay, we'll do our best to find who did it." Kind of a fun scene where they try to get other people that they knew in the past, and each time they bring them in, it's like, "Where were you this Friday? Did you do you have an alibi?" And each one they give an alibi. One goes, "Yeah, I was in jail." The other goes, "Yeah, I was in the hospital." And then James Belushi finds this homeless man who is Dennis Quaid. Got a bunch of hair on his head, face, out of it, drunk. They tell him, "Oh, with a drink, sign this confession." For a while, make him believe that he did it while he was out of his head. And Belushi knows the stripper who, "Hey, you say that you saw what happened, and you be a witness to confirm." And pretty much is this domino effect that just litters all the way down to the end. Now, I will say it was a well-acted film. The domino effect theme was kind of fun to watch, but at the same time, it's definitely, I don't know if I want to say convenient. Actually, I do want to say convenient. It's just, what I'm talking about, to go into spoilers, is the fact that, okay, the two corrupt cops, they kill a guy's DEA agent, which they get to work on. Okay. And then the stripper, who Belushi knows to pick the guy out of the lineup, she looks, sees Dennis Quaid, and goes, "I know that guy." And that creates a little bit of conflict of interest. And then there's going to be a lot of and thens. And then, all those guys that they try to pin it on, every one of them had an alibi for Friday. Convenient. What's the next one? The gun that they took to frame Dennis Quaid is a gun from another case that they were also a part of. And then first the gun's missing, and then when it's found, when that trial's happening, the bad guy of that goes, "That's not my gun. That's not my gun. I'm being framed." So he recognized that the gun, which is the same type of gun, but somehow he recognized that wasn't his gun. And so ultimately that guy gets let go, which goes to at the end of the film. Then the guy, Dennis Quaid, who they pit the pin on, turns out to be, oh, he was a surgeon like 7 years ago for this rich billionaire and part of this rich billionaire family. And this big lawyer guy, James Earl Jones, don't come in to help him out. But at the same, that's sort of the point of the film. That's why I can't really get mad about it, because that's, again, the point is that each thing they do, something else occurs. It's this domino. It's like a butterfly effect. Is I think just what I. This is the better way to describe it. It's a butterfly effect. Anytime they do something, it just creates this thing that leads to this. It's like, oh, really? That led to that. It's just, maybe that's why critics didn't like the film, but I can handle it. It was kind of one of those things like, oh, well, that's convenient. That happens to be that, and even to the point of when you get to jump to the end of the film, I have to do this to go more with my point. The same night that Tupac is found wearing a wire to Belushi, and Belushi lets him go, Tupac comes home and is confronted with this guy. Again, Tupac's character had a gambling debt. This guy who has a bigger guy played by Tiny Lister Jr., who we've seen early in the film. And just so happened on that night, those guys happen to be there, and that's ultimately how Tupac's character gets killed. And then Belushi's character's on the run. Months later, he finds the stripper, shoots her. She's not dead. She goes into the the hospital, and it just so happens that Dennis Quaid, who's now a surgeon again, after being proved innocent, is going to work on her, help her out. Or at least he's at that same hospital. And then, to the very end, Belushi thinks he gets away, and the guy who is driving is the bad guy that was let go in that trial because of the gun and shoots Belushi in the head. Nothing graphic, you just see a cutaway and the glass of the car breaks. So, whether you want to call it convenient, I think what the writer was trying to go for is irony. There's a lot of irony in the flick. And again, I think some people could have a problem with that. Like, so many conveniences piled on, but it's just how you look at it. I can't understand it, but then the more I think about it, it's the writer trying to be ironic. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, Belushi is fun. It's fun to see him as a bad guy who is always trying to say, hey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. Because I'm used to him being the good guy in K9, the good guy in The Principal. I try to think of other films where he was the bad guy. I'm sure there are, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I just thought Jingle All the Way, where he was a bad Santa. But it was fun to see James Belushi play that kind of character. I think there's actually another film called Retroactive, which I barely remember. So there's that film, but I saw it like a decade or more ago. So I don't remember too much about it. Tupac Shakur, he's good in the acting front. It's just his character isn't really given much other than constantly talking about how I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening, and saying again and again to Belushi, look what we've done. Why shouldn't I be worried? We killed a cop. We killed a cop. What? We don't kill everybody too? And it didn't seem much to his character other than he's just complaining to Belushi and worried. He's worried and complaining to Belushi. It's just not much to it other than that. And it's like, okay, I get that's the point of the character, but it's like there was really nothing else to him. Dennis Quaid, I like him as an actor. It's nice to see him in that. His get up as a drunk and beard and dirty all over. Little speech when he's in prison. He's talking to a cellmate and he explains how he came to be a bum. Nice little story Dennis Quaid tells. And again, I see Dennis Quaid in there. If you're going in for action, it's not an action film at all. Yeah, there's no fights, there's no... It's not even really that graphic of a film. I mean, you get a couple shots at the beginning, the Kumo D. Tupac, you don't see him die, you just see him run into the room where Ty Lister's in, and then it cuts away and DEA agents get there and you see Tupac dead, which is kind of weird to see considering it was his last film and then how he died. I think that is a shame too, that the last film he got to do is a film where he played a corrupt cop who dies at the end. It's just kind of like, oh, well, that sucks. And like I said, Belushi, when he dies, you don't really see it. You see the cutaway. So it's like the director didn't want to make this too violent of a film. It's one of those films that the story was interesting enough to keep me involved. I guess the soundtrack was actually from Death Row Records and was actually became platinum, I guess. Huh. Has a decent amount of rating on IMDb. I think that's a little bit too high. This is a film that I would never rewatch again. It was worth one watch, but I don't really see myself any reason to rewatch it. I can't really say it's a downer of an ending because these guys deserve what they did because again they killed an innocent guy and they did what they weren't supposed to do and they did what's coming to them. It's just I don't know. It's an okay film. It's an alright flick. If you look at the general synopsis of the story, two cops, corrupt cops, accidentally kill a DEA agent. Well, they kill a guy, then they find out it is. They pin it on a guy, and then how everything unravels. If you're into a police drama thriller, maybe that's the best way to put it, because you can't call it an action film. It's not really a procedural film. But yeah, I guess cop drama, maybe that's the best way to put it. Or if the cast interests you, James Belushi, Tupac Shakur, what do you call it? Dennis Quaid. It's just one of those scenes where this is one of those films. I was actually just talking for like 10 minutes, but now it's going on to 20. I'm just sort of repeating myself. It was an alright film. One of those films that people probably see on cable, and okay, it was a one-time watch for me, but I'll never see it again. Because again, James Belushi's nice in the role as a corrupt cop. I don't want to call it twists and turns, but the sort of unraveling of what their plan was, how everything fits together. Again, whether you call it convenient or ironic way. Tupac Shakur, his character, it didn't really have much to it. Acting was fine, but again, I blame on the writing. The other supporting characters, like the girl who played the stripper, she was alright. James Earl Jones, he's in it for maybe no more than 7 minutes, if you add it all together. I can't really think of any of the other actors that stick out. But yeah, it was a time waster for the acting. That's really what it was. The acting and the unraveling of the story. It was a decent story, and the acting was fine, especially by the two leads and Dennis Quaid. So that's why I liked it as a time waster. But I'd never buy this film. I never picked this film up. I found it somewhere online to watch. I'm just, oh, hey. I think I saw it once a long time ago. I remember not liking it. So I don't hate the film. It's just probably not a film that I would normally watch. But I'm like, oh, Belushi. I vaguely remember this. I remember not liking it, but let me do another shot. So anyway, thanks for watching this sort of rambling video. Sorry about that. Sort of getting back on the horse. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll try to make the next video better. So yeah, I apologize for that. Thanks for watching. Take care, and see you later. Bye-bye.